Hey, it's a new week and it's a new superhero deep dive. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host, Jason, and I've got a great episode this week. I am going to be talking about Cassie Hack of Hack Slash. So, let me give my disclaimers and all that rigmarole, and then we will get into it. Now, the information pulled is from different sources across the internet, may or may not be completely complete, but they do give a really good insight on the current superheroes, so keep that in mind. If I leave stuff out, it's normally because I don't feel like certain storylines or things like that were relevant to the character, like they were good, but they maybe didn't develop it, or it changed the character in such a way that most people wouldn't recognize it. And they usually end up getting retconned or returned back to their original state. So I usually keep those out for the sake of people getting into that hero and maybe doing research on their own and picking up some books to promote that hero. So there's that. As always, if you ever want to reach out to me, you can catch me on Twitch, which I'm hardly ever on, Instagram and Twitter, under Super Deep Dive, and use the hashtag Superhero Deep Dive. I do post superhero themed memes on a daily basis most days. So weekends are kind of hit and miss, and honestly I didn't do it at the time of this recording because I just didn't feel that great this morning. I was super tired, and it's because of the time change. In America we're doing, if you do daylight savings time. I woke up an hour earlier than I was supposed to because I thought I had to. And it's just, it takes a little while to get adjusted to it. But yeah. Let's see what else. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and share. I am open for ideas. If you have any kind of questions, comments, suggestions, requests for future episodes, if you have any other tidbits about heroes that we talk about that you want to add in, send me a message on Twitter, put it on my wall, send a comment on Instagram, comment on the video. Anything you do, that it would be great. And if you even want to email me, I do receive emails more often than I receive comments. But you can email me at b4itall, so b4itall at yahoo.com. And if you are listening on Outworld Fleet Radio, welcome. If you're interested in listening to me on Outworld Fleet Radio, I air every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the day. And that website is www.un-con-ventional.com/radio. So, yeah. I think that's all of that. Let's get into Cassie Hack. Now, Cassie Hack, unfortunately, I'm doing all these about a month later than I should, apparently, because it's all kind of horror themed. Like next week, I think I'm going to try to do Werewolf by Night, which is also kind of horror themed, because if I'm not late to the party, I'm not there at all. So why not, right? Now, Cassie Hack is the female star of the comic book Hack Slash. It's kind of like a zombie killing comic, but it's done in almost superhero style. So it's not quite The Walking Dead. It's not quite as serious of a tone, but it does have some really good serious undertones, and it's a lot of fun. It's written very well. But it is repeatedly stated that Cassie Hack was designed to be a horror victim who has overcome her fears and decided to take revenge on horror villains who are known in that universe as slashers. However, despite her hardened exterior, she has been shown that underneath the surface, Cassie Hack is still a lost, scared, innocent girl. So she's tough because she has to be, So Cassandra, or Cassie Hack, is the daughter of Jack Hack and Delilah Hack, and she grew up in western Wisconsin. Her father left soon after she was born, leaving Cassie with her overbearing, eccentric mother, who worked as a cook at a nearby high school. A timid wallflower, plain-looking and unattractive, young Cassie was verbally and physically abused by her classmates. Now they say she's unattractive, but she wasn't drawn that way. She really wasn't. Never having a friend, Cassie was ostracized because she wasn't pretty enough and was poor and poorly dressed. This prompted her unbalanced mother, the lunch lady, to kill every child at Cassie's school that had somehow hurt or insulted Cassie and serve them as the school food. I tell you, they were some sloppy joes made from real Joe. Cassie, witnessing her mother's last killing spree, promptly called the police. She managed to save the life of her mother's last victim, but was forced to witness her mother's death when she committed suicide. Now, Cassie was placed in a foster home and attended a new school. She detested her fanatically religious foster parents, but endured, desiring to be accepted by someone. She began training in various martial arts and fighting techniques, and in the meantime, she tried to find her father, utilizing the internet or whatever resources she could find. 2 years later, children began disappearing once more, signaling the return of her mother, reborn as a vengeful slasher, trying to continue its murderous spree. Feeling responsible for the deaths, Cassie confronted her mother once again and shot her. Driven by guilt and lacking any connection to anyone or any place, Cassie left her foster family and went on the road. Cassie became determined to seek out slashers, which are like the zombies, and stop their rampages wherever she could. She also hoped that she might find a clue to the whereabouts of her father, but for a long time found nothing. On one of her adventures, Cassie came to Chicago where she hunted a killer known as the Meat Man, who was responsible for the deaths of several teenagers. She eventually encountered the Meat Man, but discovered that he was not responsible for the murders. Cassie then befriended the Meat Man, a misshapen man named Vlad, and together they hunted down the actual murderer, a local minister assassin with mafia connections. The two began traveling together in a van bought with Cassie's inheritance, with Vlad acting as her bodyguard and muscle. Sometime later, the pair investigates a series of murders around a veterinary clinic in Eminence, Indiana. They rescue a vet, who's named Lisa, from a slasher who was accidentally killed by Lisa's boyfriend. Later, they investigate a murder at a beach resort hosting a Girls Gone Naughty event. While investigating the situation, Cassie becomes extremely drunk when a boy drugged her iced tea with pure vodka, and having lost her inhibitions, flirts with a stranger and kisses a random girl. Despite being less than sober, she continues her investigation and encounters a crazed Catholic schoolgirl, Laura Locks, who controls an undead preacher named Father Wrath. After a prolonged fight, Vlad kills Father Wrath and Cassie sets Laura on fire and leaves her for dead. Soon after, Cassie and Vlad encounter a pair of slashers murdering writers and illustrators at a Philadelphia comic convention. So I love how they kind of bring in the real world, like the Comic-Con stuff. Also, it gives the artists chances to write people or draw people in costumes of various superheroes. So it's kind of cool like that. And when Evil Ernie awakens in the Hack/Slash universe, he begins a killing spree, murdering 6 women near a strip club in New Jersey. Because why not? Cassie and Vlad investigate and track Evil Ernie to a sawmill where he falls in love with Cassie, believing the two of them to be two sides of the same coin. Only, I believe Cassie is still underage at this point. You freaking pervert. After escaping from Ernie, Cassie is distressed by the fact that she now still has to kill the one person who loves her. Vlad asserts that he loves her, but Cassie snaps and claims that he only thinks that because he's the only one who can stand her being around him. Shocked by what she said, she apologizes to Vlad and the pair resume their hunt for Ernie. Upon finding Ernie, he attempts to kidnap Cassie, but accidentally banishes himself to hell. I don't know. Maybe she's of legal age at this point, but she's whatever. It's a whatever. He's still a pervert. I'm going to stand on that. A tip from Lisa, who has been staying in contact, leads Cassie and Vlad to investigate the circumstances behind 9 children dying in their sleep. Their contact, Jason, concludes that the person responsible is Ashley, a Freddy Krueger-esque slasher who can kill people in their dreams. After Jason is also killed, Cassie gets Lisa to knock her out with sleeping gas so she can confront Ashley in his realm. Despite Ashley's best efforts, he is unable to kill Cassie, and she soon turns her own past on him, and Ashley is dispatched by Cassie's own worst nightmare, her lunch lady mother. Afterwards, Jason's ex-flatmate, Chris, begins a relationship with Lisa. Later, while setting a trap for a slasher calling herself the Acid Angel, Cassie and Vlad discover that a company led by ex-Miss America Emily Christie is capturing slashers in order to perform experiments on them. Cassie discovers that the company is producing a regenerative drug, I could not say that, regenerative drug that turns people into slashers. After the slashers escape, Emily ends up taking the drug to save her life, but has her skin burned off in an explosion, creating a new slasher, Miss America. Soon afterwards, Cassie teams up with the possessed doll, Chucky, in order to confront Laura Laux, who has returned and stolen Vlad's body using a voodoo amulet. After a series of battles, they defeat Laura once again, and Vlad regains control of his body. However, despite Cassie's trying to stop him, Chucky escapes. I love how they are bringing in kind of other horror movie monsters into this. That's just great. And Cassie is later captured by a slasher who used to be a psychologist who analyzes and tortures her. After losing 2 toes and remembering various events from her childhood, Cassie self-diagnoses herself as really messed up. Now, she didn't use the word messed. Like, she says she was really effed up. But for censorship's sake, let's just say really messed up. And pushes him out the window. So, however, later in the bathroom, Cassie's hard exterior falters and she cries. Several days later, after receiving a call from Chris, Cassie and Vlad travel to Tampa Bay to investigate a string of disappearances, coinciding with the tour schedule of a band called Acid Washed. Upon getting there, they meet a stripper called Georgia, because what other name were you going to give a stripper? But a stripper called Georgia, who offers to take them to the next concert. At the show, the band transport all the virgin girls, including Cassie and Georgia, to another realm to be sacrificed. While caged, Cassie talks to a local dog named Pooch, who tells her that the singer, 6'6", has made a deal with a demon. Afterwards, Cassie and Georgia flirt and talk about Cassie's undecided sexuality and the possibilities of escaping by making each other impure by having sex. However, Vlad arrives to rescue them, and together they return to Earth and defeat Six. Now, let me say, at the time that this comic was written, sexuality was being pushed everywhere, and it's not like sexual preferences were being pushed everywhere, just sex in general. Like having things have a more vulgar theme. Vulgarity was being pushed in the mainstream. You see it nowadays, but you don't see it as much as like the late 90s, early 2000s. The late 90s, early 2000s, it was everywhere. So just to give you guys a heads up, like, this is why things are being the way they are. Alright, so sometimes later, Cassie is forced to sell her mother's wedding ring in order to pay for a better accommodation while Vlad recovers from a respiratory infection. Afterwards, they travel to Stone County and encounter a new Father Wrath, who turns out to be the nephew of the original Father Wrath. Cassie and Vlad's next adventure leads to a college in Massachusetts, where a series of corpses have been discovered. Cassie and Vlad's relationship is somewhat rocky due to the amount of time Cassie has been spending on the phone with Georgia. After Vlad is attacked, Cassie begins questioning the local students and discovers that a number of them are lesbians who are involved in a cult surrounding the mythology of Elizabeth Bathory. Alright, if you guys aren't aware, I believe Elizabeth Bathory was known as killing people and bathing in their blood because she believed it kept her young. So just keep that in mind too. After accidentally kissing one of the students and thinking of Georgia at the time, Cassie interrogates her to find out more information about the cult. However, before the student can lead her to the cult's base of operations, Cassie encounters a government team working for her father. Cassie, Vlad, and the government team are led to the cult's underground base, where they are attacked by Miss America, who has been stealing the blood and skin of the students in an attempt to regain her original beauty. After a long battle, Vlad impales Miss America. Afterwards, Cassie and Vlad reconcile, though Cassie is uncertain of her feelings towards Georgia. Whew. Okay, now, one of the things about this is, as you're growing up, if some of you are experiencing this as you're listening, that's great. It's something that is perfectly normal. If you have experienced this, it's normal. If you've never experienced, congratulations. You're probably weirder than you think you are. But everyone goes through this phase where they question, their sexuality, their attraction. Especially if you've been treated kind of like an outcast or something. Like there's times that you question things because it's not. It may not necessarily be an attraction that you're feeling. You may be feeling the acceptance, and that's okay too. It's just a natural process. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just a natural process. So, people out there that are listening that may feel confused, or if you feel confident in yourself, celebrate that. You don't have to, when I say celebrate that, I mean stand tall. It's normal. It's normal to feel the way you're feeling. So just stand tall. You don't have to, don't do anything dumb, but just be who you are. Be who you are. All right, where was I? Let's see here. Okay, following the clues given by the government team, Cassie and Vlad search for a cabin in Montana in the hopes of finding information about Cassie's father. What they find is a series of journals detailing how a group of feral children were turned into revenants, or slashers using a drug. The children then attack, and Cassie is forced to shoot them, much to Vlad's objections. Afterwards, Cassie and Vlad hunt down the one-eyed vigilante Nathan, who Cassie believes is a slasher. However, he is actually a man seeking vengeance for the murder of his wife. After Nathan exacts his revenge, in which he is fatally wounded in the process, Cassie, still confused by her feelings for Georgia, asks him how he knew that he was in love. Because that's what you ask people that's fatally wounded and dying. Afterwards, Cassie takes a break from searching for her father to investigate a series of killings in Hitchfield, Georgia, and encounter a horde of tree huggers and their puppet master Eddie. Not long after, Georgia contacts Cassie when several of the cast of A Wizard of Oz remake turn up dead. However, despite being told to wait, Georgia investigates on her own and is almost killed by a psychopathic Tin Man. She is soon rescued by an angry Cassie who begs Georgia not to die on her because there's too much death in her life already. Cassie's search for her father soon comes to an end when she encounters Dr. Herbert West, who has been working with Dr. Jack Hack in researching slashers. West succeeds in reviving Delilah Hack. However, she reverts to her lunch lady persona and kills her husband. Disappointed with the results, West kills the lunch lady with an overdose of his serum, and he then gives Cassie the opportunity to reanimate her father, but she refuses. Losing both her parents once again leaves Cassie deeply depressed, prompting the worried Vlad into calling Georgia and asking her to talk to Cassie. Cassie confides in Georgia that she can't go on killing slashers and wants to live a normal life. Thoughts which alienate Vlad, because Vlad likes killing slashers. While going to the Mississippi police to tell them all she knows about slashers, Cassie is arrested due to her suspected involvement in homicides throughout the country. The authorities, having been led to believe Cassie may actually be responsible for the murders, due to tips from psychic Muffy Jarowski, who is being manipulated by the returned Ashley Guthrie, which Cassie and Vlad pieced together later. While being transported to a detention center, Cassie is broken out by the Society of the Black Lamp, who attempt to ritualistically murder her as punishment for destroying slashers. At the last minute, Cassie is saved by the vigilante Samhain, who kills the Black Lamp members. Okay, and that kind of stops it from there. So that's her history. Like, her history is just surrounded by pain and confusion. You know, confusion, who she feels attracted to. You know, the fact that her mom went crazy and killed people. She ended up having to kill her mom and came back as a slasher. You know, and then the mom came back later and killed her dad, who she's been searching for. You know, like, there's just so much death and pain and despair in this girl's life. And I love the fact that they actually show that it had a toll on her and she just wanted to live a normal life for a while. You know, like, that's such realistic writing there. Not so much about the slashers, but, you know, just the fact that people can get caught in situations and they just get tired and they lose that will to fight because it's all they end up being able to do. Whether they want to or not, they have to fight to survive. So, I love it. I love it. All right. While Cassie has no formal combat training beyond childhood martial arts lessons, Cassie is a skilled close quarters fighter. Her weapon of choice is usually something light and swingable, such as her trademark baseball bat. And she is also adept at using a handgun and has killed many slashers with one. Cassie also has an eye for improvised weaponry and has been known to use all kinds of inanimate objects as makeshift weapons. So that's her power set. She's got no power. She's just out there fighting for her life. And fun facts. Okay, in 2006, Rogue Pictures secured the rights to produce a hack/slash film, but I don't think it was ever done. In 2005, there was a stage play called Hack/Stage Fright, and Cassie was portrayed by Stephanie Bishop. The production by the New Millennium Theater Company was an adaptation of Hack/Euthanize and Hack/Girls Gone Dead. You know what? I'm here recording this on my computer. It's field trip time, guys. Let's go on a field trip. We are going to go on a field trip to YouTube. Let's see here. I have YouTube brought up. Oh, and I'm looking at my live coin watch for Shiba Inu coins. It's 0.000056 at the time of this recording. It needs to go up so I can make some money. And I'm not a financial advisor, but if you guys are interested in investing, you can get plenty of Shiba Inu coin right now, dirt cheap. So, yeah, okay. So let's see here. Hack/, and it's called Stage Fright. Okay. Hack/Stage Fright. Let's see here. I don't see it. Let me see here. Hack/, live action. There is a hack/ teaser trailer from 5 years ago with Alexandra Daddario. But I'm not seeing I'm not seeing it here. There's fan-made stuff, but yeah, I'm not seeing a live action thing, and that's okay. That is okay. I should have looked at this earlier, but I'm glad I'm doing it now. So, sorry. No, nothing on YouTube. Okay, but let's see, what other fun facts do we have, though? There was actually a 2014 play for Hack Slash, and Cassie was portrayed by Jean Burr. And although Cassie is one of the more scantily clad female superheroes, her costume is actually designed to be an homage to the horror and horror spoof genre, which she is based on, as opposed to all-out exploitation. Even though a lot of pictures of her are all-out exploitation, which you can see if you are watching the YouTube video, because it's a slideshow of the heroes that we talk about. And to my own knowledge, if there's anything different, let me know. You can comment on Twitter or Instagram, or even on the YouTube video. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, it's superherodeepdive. If you're on YouTube, it's superherodeepdive. But Cassie Hack is the only superhero that I know of, or hero that I know of, that has her own spread in Suicide Girls. And if you guys don't know what Suicide Girls is, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I don't know if it's still there, and I'm not going to look it up because I'm married, and I'm happily married, and I don't want to get in trouble. But it was kind of a alt site for girls to post like pictorials of themselves, I guess. It was an adult oriented site, but I don't think it went too far. I don't know. But because she was very much a product of the times, they actually did a Suicide Girls section for her. So that was pretty cool. Okay. So what do you guys think? That's her history. That's her backstory. Some fun facts about her. Her power set. What do you guys think of Cassie Hack? She's pretty awesome, right? I mean, this is someone that has been through it, and you know, even though it's a tale of fiction, her responses are probably the most true responses that we have seen in comics. I mean, you know, she's someone that fights. You know, not, and you know, she runs out. She gets mentally worn out from all of this. It's not like, oh, we just saved the world. What's coming up next week? It's time to save the universe this time, and then the week after that, we'll save the world again. It's not like that. She's just trying to survive, and she's trying to help the people around her survive. So, you know, it's pretty awesome. But now we're going to come to my favorite part. This is the power expansion set. And this is where I go and I look and see if we can develop this character. Would they make a good, like, Amazon or Netflix or Hulu series or Paramount Plus or HBO Max, whichever one, you know, whichever streaming service or whatever. Would they make a good series? Would they make maybe an animated series? Would it work as a movie? I've done comic storylines, you know, all that kind of stuff. Last week, I talked about Vampirella, and we actually went on a full-on media blitz. We started out with comics, then went on to like an animated series, and used the same voice actress to go into a live-action series and have it develop like that and actually do full-on things. But the animated series was going to be like a YouTube series, so put out for free to just keep gaining interest. You know, and this week I'm doing something similar. Now, it seems like my default answer for all the power expansions is to do a movie or a TV series. And it's true, and I mean, I get called out on it, but my ideas are pretty original in them. At least I would like to think so. But because of this and only this, I'm going to offer 2 expansions this time. One is something a little bit different, and I think it'll be fun to work out. So I've always found that the Cassie Hack universe is very unique and intriguing. It's got the horror elements to it for sure, but it's also got that attitude of a victim of circumstance that I absolutely love. And like, she's not a fighter because she wants to be. She's a fighter because she has to be. The world basically around her is crumbling, and she is just trying not to drown with it. So with this, let me get my first power expansion out of the way. When I read Hack Slash, I see a zombie movie in the same vein as Zombieland. Let there be cutaways to messed up memories. Let there be blood, gore, humor, sarcasm. All that kind of good stuff. I love all the little overlays when, like in Zombieland, when he's going over the rules, and the rules end up showing up like in the picture. Stuff like that. And then they have like this kind of where it's applicable. I love stuff like that. It just kind of keeps it light, even with the tone of the movie. So I think something like that in that same kind of style would be awesome. And for her, for Cassie Hack, I'd like to cast Sarah Hyland. She's done emotionally damaged people before, but let's care for that alternative emo edge. This movie is like, I think it was like 7 years old, so I'm sure that things change. But Sarah Hyland, I've always been a fan of her. She did the movie like Vampire Academy, where she played a character that was kind of unhinged, but she was nerdy, and then, she fixed herself up. And when she was nerdy, she was still cute, but she was very kind of like middle of the road. Like, she was easily passed up. And it wasn't like one of those teenage romantic comedies where like She's All That, where the girl's like still mega hot and all they did was put a dress on her. Like when Sarah Hyland dressed up in the prom dress or whatever it was and looked amazing, she ended up changing her posture and stuff with like she changed her physical mentality. It was very reminiscent of Christopher Reeves when he did Superman. When he was Clark Kent, he dropped his shoulder some, he slouched. And when he took off his glasses, he kind of stood up a little bit taller. It looked like he gained about 5 or 6 inches in height just from adjusting his posture. And that's kind of how she was in that movie when she changed. And I think that it's something that she could do. But yeah, I think with an alt kind of emo edge to it, like I think she'd be absolutely amazing in it, and I think she'd be great in the part. I think it'd be hot, which fits kind of how they drew her. I mean, they don't have to get overly sexual, but like that is part of her character too. So that's the first part. That's the movie one that I see. That's my kind of default answer. I just touched over it very briefly, but let's get to the second one. I won't stay on the first because, you may be a bit tired of hearing about movies, even though I'm going to do it next week probably. But even though, I'd still totally watch the Hack Slash movie in the Zombieland style. But what I'm seeing is a new comic series, but like a total reboot. Let's retell Cassie Hack's origin, just without the blatant sexuality of it. Now, in this, a large part of her character is having that teenage coming to an adult, coming into her adulthood and dealing with, her sexuality, who she's attracted to. Could she be attracted to male and female? Does it matter? That's part of her struggles, because it's impacting her overall life because while she's dealing with that, she's also fighting slashers. So I do think that's important, but I don't think it needs to be put front and center. I think it needs to be a background thing as a motivating factor. I think it would be, because it adds a little bit of realism to it. When people, if you look at some of the comic book movies out there, and I'm using comic book movies as an example because it's front and center in your mind and in your face. When people, when they start talking about, like, gender identity, sexuality, basically anything that be considered political extremes one way or the other, either ultra liberal, ultra conservative, who knows, it doesn't matter. But when they do that, it ends up overtaking the film, and then it becomes, then your film becomes a political piece, and you lose half your audience, as opposed to, just being a good movie and letting it be, but when you put these things out front and center, you end up getting, really negative feedback one way or the other. And I don't think we need to do that. I think because she's such an obscure character, we need to put it out there, but just not front and center. Just put it out there and let it help be one of her motivating forces to the development of her character. Because it's also realistic. As we go through life, we're going to deal with all the stuff we have to do in life. But, we're not going to make a big deal out of sexuality when we have everything else going on. We're going to deal with that, and then in the back of our minds, that's what kind of pushes us. So that's what I'd like to see. Now, she was a product of the times where sex appeal was out front and center. So I want to put some effort into the storytelling and develop the pain in Cassie's past. Genuinely flesh out the slasher mythos to it, and I think we'd have a big hit on our hands. Like, Cassie Hack has a cult following, and I think we really need to delve into that story and let the fans have what we all want. Let's give us an authentic Cassie Hack, where she's forced to defend herself from the slashers that pursue her. Let's see a girl struggling to make her way in the world when everything else is crashing down around her. Let's have a series where everyone can relate to the protagonist, whether the reader is a male or female. Because the stuff that she went through, as far as the sexuality, and the only reason I keep bringing it up is because it was so front and center back then. It definitely played more towards a male fantasy, more so than an actual drama or an actual struggle. But male and female nowadays can feel that struggle. We're seeing where even being asexual, I hope I use the term correctly, where you're not really feeling a lot of sexual attraction to anyone. It's that's out there now, and it shouldn't be ashamed of, but it is something that people don't need to make a big deal out of either. Let people handle it and be there for them, but let's not have Bob the bisexual boy over there. Let's not have that be his identity. Let him be Bob. And let Bob be a bisexual boy. Not Bob the bisexual boy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm trying to relay here. Like, let's have this stuff be out, but not so prevalent. And we're seeing a lot of really great comics out nowadays where the characters are having different sexualities, but it's not their motivating factor, and it's working out really well. So let's treat Cassie Hack with the same kind of respect. Let's not have her be a horror male fantasy. Let's have her be someone that struggles that people can relate to and people want to stand behind. But what do you guys think? Am I onto something? Am I just blowing smoke? Let me know. I definitely want your feedback on these things because I think it's great and I think we can do a whole lot. But in the meantime, I'm gonna call it for now. I will see you guys next week. Everyone be blessed, be happy, be smart, and if you're not smart, don't get caught. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.